What's up, real estate business builders? I'm excited for today's conversation because we don't often have someone come on here. As real estate agents, we're always focused on more leads, what's the next squirrel that I can chase in the business? And we're easily distracted. And that seems to be most of the content that's out there. Sarah Ponder is a certified financial planner. Her obsession is helping agents figure out why we make so much money and why we have so little to show for it. So Sarah, give us like a couple minutes on your background, and then we're really going to unpack this. I think you being in this industry is a godsend. We have agents making millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, and then they don't pay their taxes, right?
Yep.
So give us an intro, and then we'll get into your superpowers.
Yeah, Lars, thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and talk with y'all. So like he said, my name is Sarah Ponder. I'm one of a zillion certified financial planners. I'm one of a handful that work with real estate professionals almost entirely. I got into this because my husband is an agent here in Austin. And that led into working with a lot of his colleagues. I love working with you guys, primarily because I feel like great real estate agents are great people, and you're just like fun. You're just fun clients. You're like the best people to have dinner with and like get life tips from, and all of that. But primarily I got into it because there's not a lot of people serving you. A lot of the folks that are in the financial advisory space that are serving you are typically selling products and commissions. I don't do that. I just, give advice, and clients pay me for my advice. So that's kind of key to why I work with agents like you guys. I also, of course, love that you have, the variable income because it presents obviously a lot of challenges, but also presents a lot of opportunities for you to save and take advantage of the fact that you are a small business owner. And then finally, probably my favorite thing to do, which I'm sure we will dig into in business, is to have deeper conversations with clients about your why. And every time a client asks me a technical question about, should I invest in this, or what should I do about my taxes and that, there is obviously a technical answer to it, but I love bringing it back to your longer term vision and helping you align your dollars and cents with your vision and values.
Awesome. So I want to get into the typical challenges you see when you start working with a client. And I also want to get into some advice you might give an agent that's looking to build wealth over the long term. But before I hit record, we started talking about the psychology of money. Can you kind of, let's just unpack that a little bit. And why is that sort of the basis of how you work with, I don't know, everyone struggles with money, I think, but real estate agents specifically, why is that resource so near and dear to you?
Yeah. So it's one of my favorite books. And, obviously there's a million personal finance books out there. This is the one that I give every single client. And if you haven't read it yet, Google it. It's sold a bazillion copies, and there's a good reason for it. What's great about it is that the author, Morgan Housel, he writes short stories that illustrate really key points about just how human beings live and interact with each other and with our money. On the first page, there's a quote that goes something along the lines of, your experience with money is about 0.0000001% of the world's experience with money, but it's like 80% of how you view the world. And so if you just know that about yourself, you'll be able to make better decisions. Like just knowing literally that one thing. Knowing that every decision that you have made about money, there's a really good reason for it. And it's not because you're crazy. It's because of a past experience or how you were brought up or the year you were born. Luck. If you just know that about yourself, and then when you are faced with a decision about money, if you can think about why you're making it and step back, you'll be able to make a better decision.
Awesome. So let's dig into that a little bit. So that's essentially saying that I have such a limited knowledge of how money works, the tactical, actual how money works, and also psychologically how it works. Yet I apply that. That's my whole view of money.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So give an example of what that looks like practically for a real estate agent or
Yes.
anyone.
Yeah. So practically, so you guys are in the real estate industry. So you are literally physically every day in homes. That is your job. And you often are looking at the numbers of real estate investment, both on the personal side, like the forced savings of your own personal residence, as well as the residential real estate investment side. Over the long run, those tend to be pretty good investments. If you are spending all of your time in it, though, that's just what you see. And so because it's what you see, it makes it hard to see outside of the things that you see every day. And so, for very good reason, a lot of people think the stock market is very scary because Wall Street has made it very complicated. Most people don't even know how to buy or sell a stock or an ETF. A lot of people don't even know what an ETF or a mutual fund is in the first place. And that's okay because, Wall Street made it complicated in the first place. But because you don't know what it is, or maybe you do, but because you're not literally in it all the time, it can feel foreign and scary. And so therefore it can feel a little bit harder to diversify your entire portfolio. So it can feel harder to make decisions about investing in something that you don't understand. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's dig into the challenges. So when 80% of your clients are real estate agents,
Yep.
and your husband's a real estate agent, so you kind of know how we operate. We mentioned one of them is just the roller coaster of income. But what are the typical challenges? Maybe 3 or 4 challenges that you see with a real estate agent, and it could be clients in general. But lay out the challenges that agents have when it comes to personal finance.
Yeah. So the first is really a mix of business and personal finance. It's just overspending on your business and not taking a clear look at your profitability every quarter at least, if not every month. For example, if you're spending on leads or whatever, just taking a quarterly-ish view of that and making sure that you're getting the return on the investment that you're making. Because maybe at one point you did, but maybe you're not still, or maybe you continue to make a great return on whatever investment that you're making. So that's number one, is profitability. And within that profitability, of course, it's evaluating expenses, but it's also every time you get a commission check, give yourself some profit. So since you are running a business, you should be taking, probably 10-ish% of every commission check and setting it aside for your own profit. And then depending on, your spouse and your income, your total income, somewhere between 15 and 25% for taxes. Put that off into a separate account. And then every quarter, pay the tax man. Of course, those are just rules of thumb. This is not specific tax advice. But, making sure you do those 2 things first and then run your business and your life with the rest, that's really, really key. The second really big one is, because you have such lumpy income and sometimes lumpy expenses, either personally or for the business, it can feel really hard to save systematically into, whatever kind of, retirement strategy or, longer term financial freedom strategy you have. But I would really encourage you to do that. For example, a lot of, folks will want to have a solo 401k or a SEP IRA. And, let's say you want to put $20,000 or $30,000 into that every year, but you don't feel like you can do that every single month. Start with 500. Start with something meaningful, but smaller, so that you get into that habit, so that the more and more income you get, if you have the habit of saving and ideally the habit of putting the savings away where you're not looking at it or touching it, that will give you a better chance of actually being able to get the freedom that you want later in life. Every dollar you save right now is buying a little bit of your freedom in the future. Every dollar you spend right now is taking away a little bit of your freedom in the future.
So maybe we bring in the principles of the psychology of money into, when you're working with somebody that is nowhere near, they've been in the business for 10 years, they're a top agent, but they don't have any net worth, they don't have any, residual income, or they're just not where they need to be. How do you get them? Maybe it's just reading the book and helping them go through the book, but it comes down to habits, right? So they're habitually spending more money than making, so they're habitually not moving closer. Maybe they don't even have a goal, but maybe step us through, how do you take someone who hasn't figured it out yet, and how do you work with them? What are the few things you'll do to work with them to pivot?
Yeah. So one of the first things that we do is one of my very favorite meetings, which is called an imagination meeting. And in that meeting, typically we haven't really done much of a financial plan yet at this point. I've kind of generally looked at your finances, but we haven't dug in really, really detailed yet. And in that imagination meeting, I use these 3 questions that I was trained on. The first of which is, just tell me about your ideal life. If you had the money that you need to fund your life for the rest of your life, what would you do? How would you spend your time? Would you work? Would you not work? Would you buy a baseball team? Mm-hmm. Would you, go to a horse farm? What is it? What is it that gives you energy and gives you life? So you'll write some answers there. Some people have 3 bullet points. Some people have a page and a half. And then in the meeting, I'll ask you to share more about that. And typically we go a little deeper and we learn more about your family and your background and, why it is that you want that life. So then we go to questions 2 and 3, which are where you're back in your current life with your current resources, current family, current everything. And I ask you, let's say your doctor tells you that you have 5 years. You're not going to be sick, but one day between 5 and 10 years from now, it's all over. What do you do? Do you change anything? And then the third question is the same as number 2, current life, current resources. But it's that the day has come and it's tomorrow. And so the question is not, what do you want to do on your last day? The question is, what did you miss? So what did you miss? Are there things that were unsaid? Was there time that you didn't spend with someone or something, doing something?
So that doesn't sound like financial planning at all. It sounds like, you're helping people avoid regrets in the areas of life that matter most to them. And the financial piece is probably a pretty foundational piece in that. Here is something that I want to get your perspective on. And as a business coach, I struggle. I'm personally good at this, but folks that I coach, and I want to get your perspective on the folks that you advise. I think people have a hard time envisioning. They just think it's going to be okay someday. And they have a hard time looking at the reality of their situation. And if it's not where it needs to be today, and you don't have the habits in place to get to where you want to be in the future, how do you get people to be honest with themselves about their situation? And it may be a dire financial situation. They may be working too many hours, have nothing financially to show for it. Their lifestyle has crept out of control, right? So how do you even navigate that with somebody?
That's a great question. It really depends on the person and, what their motivating factors are and their personality style. But So after that meeting, after that first meeting, the 3 questions, imagination meeting, then we do what's called the obstacles in organization. And that's really where kind of I continue to do the sort of interviewing style of you, and ask you to start digging into your like what solutions can you come up with that would help you get closer to that number one and help you close the loop on number 2 and number 3 if there were things that you would miss or things that you need to change. Because I find, I can come up with a list of answers and eventually I will give some answers, but you have to, within yourself, begin to answer that for yourself. Because, if someone doesn't want to change, they probably shouldn't be getting a financial planner in the first place. It's funny. I have, I find that the best clients are the ones who, of course, you have to have the means, you have to have the finances to plan in the first place, but you have to know that you want to change something. If you don't want to change something, come back to me when you're ready, basically.
Mhm.
Not that you're going to like rock bottom or anything. I don't really think that's, the case for a lot of folks, but you have to know that it's time. You have to know that you're ready to do the things that will bring you life and joy.
And how does that present itself? So when you're talking to someone, you probably have some sort of introductory before they hire you.
Yeah.
I'm selfishly trying to figure out like how I can better serve my clients.
Sure. Absolutely.
But it's got to be the same thing. So how do you know, like, what sort of cues do you pick up on, or questions do you answer before you even, do that exchange where they're going to hire you to help them? How do you know that someone's ready to change?
That's a good question. I find that if in the intro meetings, if people are talking a lot about the things they want to buy in the future, and that's a broad word. It could be kitchen upgrade or it could be object. Then that's telling me that that's what's on your mind, as opposed to if they're telling me that they want time to do X, Y, or Z. To kind of bring it back to the psychology of money, there's a chapter in the book called Rich versus Wealthy. And, a lot of people want to be both, but they don't really know the difference between the two. So when you're rich, it's a presentation. So being rich is the things that you see above the ground. If you drive down, a neighborhood, roughly speaking, everything above the ground is probably going to be kind of similar, size of house, type of car, etc. But the wealth is what's below the ground, and it's what you don't see. And the true definition of wealth to me is the ability to control your time. And so I have to see that people want that. And it just has to be clear to me that like, they're not asking me for how to get the best returns on a certain investment. I mean, obviously I know a lot about that. That's how I'm trained. It's important to have, a relatively modest, but, portfolio that is going to, give you what you need. But, when we're reviewing your portfolio, your question should never be, how much did it outperform, blah, blah, blah. Your question should be, is my portfolio helping me achieve my goals? Can I get that freedom that I want?
Yeah. It's all the same stuff that I'm trying to help my clients with. So this is awesome. Tell me this is sort of a little bit, just given the current economic environment, interest rates, world might end, probably nothing's going to happen. How do you even navigate, I'm sure some clients come in like a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
Yep.
How do you navigate like knowing that the course is probably the same,
Yeah.
but they come in thinking like, there's they may need to make drastic moves, or we've got to go into cash or roll into gold, or they're not even in the game, right? Like, how do you navigate that sort of, because our personality types, I'm a sort of a different personality types, but we're a little bit flighty. We just think everything's going to be good. We're people, people, right? So we're just like, as long as we just love on our people, everything's going to work out fine. And we're not numbers people generally. I happen to be a numbers person, but our industry is not. So how do you navigate those emotions given the current economic climate? Is there anything different that you do now that you didn't do, pre-pandemic, 3-4 years ago?
Yeah. So when it comes to like savings and investments, the main thing, right? So in the last couple of years, when it was boom times, I was really encouraging clients as much as possible to make their full retirement lump sum contribution for the year, so that when they got that big check, they took care of it, and they, at the very least, got that tax deduction and are, saving for their future. Now it's much more review your budget, cut out anything that doesn't bring you joy. Like I'm kind of a Marie Kondo person, even though I have 3 kids under 5, so my house doesn't look like that. But I'm very much like, if an expense does not bring you joy, cut it out, on either the business or the personal side. And going back to that systematic investing, systematic savings philosophy. So, pay yourself first before you do anything else. That's the big thing. And there's another part to that question that I'm sorry I am not remembering.
No, it was just it was along those lines. Like, is there anything specific? So the answer, your prescription is probably the same 3 years ago as it is today. It's all sort of timeless, psychology of money, habits, and all of that. But is there anything like, well, maybe you don't see with the interest rates are through the roof. Most agents think they're not going to sell any homes anymore. We're going to lose 30% of our roster. That's what our NAR is telling us, probably more. So given all of that's going, like, how are you helping your clients or new people that come in sort of navigate all of that?
Yeah. So again, this is a few psychology of money just reminders, which is that nothing is as permanent as it feels, either during the good times or the bad times. And we know that not by looking at predictions and what we think is going to happen in the future, but just by looking at history. I mean, history is cycles. Human beings operate in cycles. The world operates in cycles. And when you know that, when you also know that at the end of the day, net worth is just a number. If you have taken care of your house and your food and the basic needs, your net worth is just a number. So if during these particular times you have to slightly increase debt, but then pay it down really quickly when things change, it's just a number. You're just moving things around. Don't make drastic permanent decisions based on a semi-permanent short-term situation. Those are the 2 big ones.
Awesome.
Net worth a number, nothing's as permanent as it feels right now.
Don't make a permanent decision based on a temporary, what was the rest of that?
Yeah, just based on a temporary situation. So
that's really good.
Both, and that applies both to the everyday personal decisions that we make and the global macroeconomic thing. So, global macroeconomic trends are all cyclical, but also so are our lives. Like, if you are one of that 30% that does have to drop out of the real estate industry, life is what it is, right? Like, maybe it's a gift to you. I hope you don't, but maybe it's a gift to you. Maybe it's an opportunity for you to showcase a new skill, or to meet a new person, or to give back to your family or your friends or your community in some way.
Awesome. As we wrap up here, what's like just some words of advice to give our community? Inventory is non-existent, so all the agents are, scrapping over like less homes for sale. So we're sort of freaking out a little bit from an income standpoint. I think the world is having all of its challenges. So if you have agents, in the FUD, the 24-hour news cycle, it's not good. They're going to struggle. So what advice would you have, or any parting words here? And then I'll give you a chance to kind of just point us to how to get in touch with you.
Yeah. So you mentioned it, the 24-hour news cycle. So I don't watch the news. I read some, well-researched journalism, but I don't watch any news. And I've turned off all notifications on my phone except for the highly critical ones. And I know that's probably not exactly what you asked, but I am telling you that does clear your brain. And
that's
when
exactly,
your brain,
I think it's perfect.
Yeah, when your brain is clear, it gives you more space to do the things that actually matter, both personally and professionally. Professionally, that means calling your clients, being in front of them, doing pop buys, annual reviews. All of those things are all the things that fulfill you and then also long-term build your business. And
Awesome.
So cut out the clutter so you can do the good stuff.
Yeah. And I like to describe it like, I say you're put your blinders on, some horses, you're in Texas. So I don't know, you guys may have horses. My daughter's super into horses.
There are horses in Texas. There's some on the other side of my fence, not on my particular house. But.
Yeah. So some of them, when they run a race, not all the horses, but some of them wear blinders, so they can run their own race and they don't get spooked out by their horses. And that's kind of like your world, right? So for you, you're trying to help our industry in planning. You have 3 kids under 5, you have a husband, and you probably have a few other things that are important to you. And that is more to do than in a 30-hour day. And there's only 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
Yet somehow agents, allow for the world to get in. Like the world is like, I can't believe what's going on in Russia and Ukraine. I can't believe that we're going through de-dollarization. I can't believe that, and obviously I watch a little bit of the news, but I do have just a couple sources, not on the 24-hour news cycle. YouTube can be.
Really, I don't even know how to find cable news.
Yeah.
Really don't.
But I love that. I think that can solve so many issues, because as a business owner, there's an infinite amount of work to do. There's no shortage of opportunity in your market. There's no shortage of opportunity, even if you think there is. And it's only you telling yourself, because you're in the news, that everything is going to crap. It's not going to crap, right? You're the only one that can opt out of this market if you fall prey to the news. So I love that. I think that's a great way to end. What is the best way to get in touch with you? I know your website is realestatewealthplanning.com.
Yep.
There's a contact page there. If this is sort of like, you need this, and I don't necessarily know how you work, but I know you're a planner. You're not selling product, which is awesome. So that's one way to reach out to you. Then what's your Instagram? It's real estate.
Also real estate wealth planning.
Yep.
So yeah, those are the 2 best things. There's a phone number. And then Instagram, I do have an associate that kind of helps me manage the Instagram. So if you really need something, make sure you say it.
Awesome.
In the DMs. But so I do financial planning, comprehensive. So that does mean investment management and financial planning for agents and also retirees and pre-retirees. So if you have clients, that kind of thing. Yeah. And then we do a little bit of tax planning and bookkeeping and payroll as well. We do not file taxes, but we coordinate with the tax filers.
Awesome. Is there, now I won't even ask you the question, because I've got a big tax bill, but it's too late to do anything about it. And it only means I had a good year. So I guess
it does. Congratulations.
I'm not going to complain.
Congratulations. All right, Tara, that's what I tell everybody. Congratulations. You get to pay taxes.
Awesome. One last question. Psychology of Money. Is there any other book you would recommend that we read?
Yes. If you're a parent, well, these are for parents, which I know a lot of us are in real estate because we have families. Ron Lieber wrote 2 books. If you have kids of any age, or honestly, even if you're just an aunt or an uncle, I love this book. It is called The Opposite of Spoiled. The Opposite of Spoiled by Ron Lieber. And it is all those, tough money questions that kids are going to ask you. Everything from allowance to how to handle homeless folks and interactions with that kind of thing. So every topic is in there, and it's great. And then he's got another one for if you have kids that are kind of middle school, high school. It's called The Price You Pay for College, also by Ron Lieber, and very much helps you think about how to make that investment and how to make the best choice for your family.
Awesome. I love it. I love it when I haven't heard of books, so like it's awesome. And I've got a 12 and 15-year-old and I'm just contemplating like
read that book tomorrow.
The Price You Pay for College.
The Price You Pay for College. Yes.
Yeah.
It will make you feel so much better. You'll know what to look for. Really will.
Awesome. All right, Sarah, I appreciate your time. This has been amazing. And we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one.
Awesome.